Grief is one of the very few things that all humans are going to have to deal with at one point in their life. Whether that is a loss of a loved one or the loss of a very good relationship, like one of your best friends becoming very distant from you, and even just a passing tragedy that you see on the news that you find to be very sad. We're all going to deal with it at some point. And GRIS, being one of the few games that I actually like better on my second playthrough as opposed to my first, conveys this very well. Going through the 5 stages of grief, GRIS has 5 different stages which represents these different stages of grief. And starting off with number 1, we enter denial, which is refusing to acknowledge what has happened. Whatever that thing may be, that is the beginning of grief. Just not accepting what exactly has happened. And I feel that's best represented by the color in this level being white. There's no color in this world, essentially denying the world itself, because as we know, by the end of GRIS, the world is very colorful, very vibrant, and full of various colors that represent different emotions. And by denying what has happened, you're not allowing yourself to experience those emotions in a very healthy way. Because as you see in this stage, GRIS, all she can do is basically walk. And then we move into the stage of anger, which is represented by the color red, and even further elaborated on once we get GRIS's new ability, which allows her to turn into a very heavy block to smash rubble out of her way. And you have to do this a couple of times throughout this level, and it really just shows GRIS trying to get her anger out in any way that she possibly can, by smashing through things and just trying not to feel the pain and just barreling through it, being mad at whatever the situation may be, maybe feeling that it's not fair, or that why did this have to happen to her or to somebody that she cares about. She's not acknowledging that. She's just feeling anger for the thing that happened, not necessarily at someone, just at the situation itself, which then leads us into bargaining, represented by the color green. And most likely they chose green for the color of bargaining because money, if you're American, money is green, so maybe that could be a thing like an exchange of goods, aka bargaining. And it's also represented by this little creature that we meet throughout this level, who in exchange for us giving him a couple of apples, he eventually shows us a way to move forward throughout the level, aka bargaining. Very simple, straightforward, and to the point. But there's also another example in this level of these little butterflies or birds, whichever they may be, allow us to do a very big jump, or a super jump if you want to call it that. And we are only able to perform these super jumps in cooperation with these little guys here. Not by ourselves, not by just doing it, but because they choose to help us by cooperating, by bargaining with us, which is a really cool thing once you think about it. Then we move into the 4th stage, which is depression, represented by the color blue, which can often be seen as cold, aloof, and distant at some times. And is also represented by the rain that we see early on into the level, because if you do not know, there is a condition where depending on the weather, people can become a little sadder or even depressed because of the weather. It's literally called seasonal depression. It is an actual thing. So therefore, the rain being in this level and it being a level all about depression makes all the sense in the world. And not to mention that GRIS gains an ability throughout this level to be able to dive and maneuver her way throughout the water. And throughout most of this level, you are constantly diving deeper. A literal metaphor for GRIS diving deeper into depression, basically hitting rock bottom at a certain point within this level. But once you hit that rock bottom, which everyone is going to do throughout their own journey of grief, you get to the 5th level, which would be acceptance, which is represented by the color yellow, and is last represented by GRIS gaining her ability to sing once again, growing plants, which allows her to bargain with the little butterflies or whatever the heck they are that we have seen before, allowing her to freely get to new places that she never could have been if she had not experienced all those things before, like her being angry and smashing through the rubble, like her diving deep into her depression, and like her bargaining with these little guys to super jump. Her accepting what has happened has made her stronger, and those things that she has went through are now tools for her to be a better version of herself than she was before, allowing her to go new places that if she had not gone through those things, by the time she had maybe gotten here, she would have been incomplete and maybe not necessarily be the strong person that she needs to be now, or may have never really dealt with the issue in the first place and would have been eventually swallowed up by her own grief. Which brings me to the dark monster that we see throughout the game. That That dark monster that we see is literally GRIS's grief trying to consume her, as signified when you actually see the monster's face transform into GRIS's face, which is one heck of a metaphor. And last but not least, one thing that I really do want to touch on, my only real negative about GRIS in general is the fact that the secret ending honestly should have been the regular ending, or they should have put that in somewhere within the game so people just understood what the actual character was going through. Because if you don't understand, that statue that we see throughout the game, the broken one that we see in literally every single level, is actually GRIS's mom. And when you look at it from that perspective and you see her crying every time she gets to the statue, aka revisiting the memory of her mother, unlocking a new stage in the level of grief that she feels, it just makes those little moments much more powerful than if you're just wondering why she curled over crying. But either way, I just wanted to really tackle how cool it was that GRIS tackled the 5 stages of grief in such a unique way in comparison to other games, just telling it throughout the character's expression. Instead, this game made a whole game about that itself. It's really cool, and I hope to see more games like this because it's honestly something unique. It's something that I recommend a lot of people play. If you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play it right now, and it's only a 2 to 3 hour game depending on how fast you defeat these puzzles. So it's not a game that you're going to have to put a big time investment to. You can beat it in one good sitting. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, like, comment, subscribe, and please turn on notifications. And last but not least, go check out some more on my channel because they're already there. And with that being said, it's been Skipx, and I'm out.